Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews live show. I am your host, Matthew Pekovic. This is episode number 5 coming right at you. So, didn't have a live show last week and I apologize about that. And I also apologize because this live show was on air on Friday night. Something happened with my computer. I don't know what. It was a whole thing about it. Don't need to get too far into the weeds. I really want the live show on tonight, so I rescheduled. Here we are. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who is watching right now, and thank you to everyone who is watching the replay later as well. It's really great to be here tonight. So let's move on with our first order of business. And as usual, let's just talk about what's new on Matt's movie reviews. So I think the key word for myself over the last couple of weeks has been podcasts. I mean, I've been doing a whole bunch of interviews with filmmakers from Australia and around the globe, US particularly, of course. And I think what's really cool about that is that it really gives me a chance to just talk about films that people don't really know of, and share those films with all of you, and talk about movies. So I'll just share the screen here. Let's go this one. All right, so let's head over to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. So as you can see, a whole bunch of interviews this week. Just clear that, clear this as well. So, over the last couple of weeks, I'll be talking to a whole bunch of people. So, Elliott from the movie Take Back Tonight, that was a great talk about the movie that she had, very kind of a feminist-driven creature feature, which is really highly recommended. Jennifer Maitreya-Taylor, I spoke to her about her documentary For the Love of Rutland. Essentially, it's about the small town of Rutland, which I think is in Ohio, but I could be wrong there, Vermont. Anyway, moving on about that. Essentially, it's a film about this town that's been really crippled by kind of COVID, and also the opioid epidemic as well. So just looking what is happening at that town, especially when this really big thing happens there when the mayor there decides to take on refugees from Syria, and how that kind of splits the town in half. So really kind of like, boots on the ground, kind of look at how a town is changing and all the really kind of inbuilt attitudes there. Fascinating documentary. Another documentary that I talked to was with the guest list director, David Bellino. So this is a documentary about the 2003, I believe it was, station fire in New Jersey that took like 100 people's lives. It was a big fire there. It was the result of a band called Great White. They were performing, and they were doing started a set, and they had pyro, and the whole kind of club went on fire, and it just killed so many people. So this is a documentary just about not only what happened that night, but the aftermath of it as well. Another documentary I did an interview on was a film Facing Monsters, had director Bentley Dean. This is a documentary about the Slabwave server. I think his name was Kirby Dean. I could be wrong there. Anyway, it's about his addictions, especially to like surfing in really dangerous conditions, and how having a family kind of changed that. Then I spoke with director and actor Anthony Hayes about his movie Gold. It stars Zac Efron. It was a film that was very popular on Stan. It was released earlier this year. It just had its release in the US, so we talked about that movie as well. Great talking to Anthony Hayes. Another Australian director, Daisy Gideon, spoke to her in regards to her movie Enough, Lebanon's Darkest Hour, another political, social documentary, this time in regards to the corruption that's really taken over the Lebanese government over the last couple of decades now, and how it's pretty much left Lebanon almost like a country that's almost unlivable in, especially in regards to hardly any electricity, and then the big explosion that happened in the Beirut port. And just up today is a documentary discussion I had with David Weiner. for his new documentary called In Search of Tomorrow. Now, anyone who knows the In Search movies, or In Search of Darkness Part 1, In Search of Darkness, In Search of Darkness Part 2, they're these really long, like 3-4 hour documentaries that delve into horror during the 80s. In Search of Tomorrow is still in the 80s, but this time it's talking about sci-fi films of the 80s. Now, this documentary goes for 5 hours. I mean, it's a big task for people to watch. However, the content is so good, the interview is so good, it delves into kind of like the making of kind of like really the big films of that era, like your E.T.s and your Back to the Futures and your Star Wars movies, but also talks about those cult films as well, which I thought was really great. And I think it was just a terrific documentary. I really enjoy watching these In Search of documentaries. And David Weiner, this is the third time he's been on the podcast, so it's just terrific that I could speak to him in regards to that movie. Got a question here from Rob. Rob, mate, how you doing? Am I going to do a review on the Morbius movie? I am, as soon as I watch it. So, some of these films, sometimes they only have like media previews, maybe a couple of days in advance until their release date. I'm going to be watching this film. I'm going to watch Morbius a couple of days before it does release. And depending on embargo stuff and all that, I'll have my review up there as soon as I can. So as soon as I watch it, I write a review up and I get it up there. I know I've been a little slack lately with the reviews, but I'm trying really hard to get on top of stuff. I do finally have reviews up for the Batman, which went up not long ago, and also for a movie called Hyperions, which is the latest film that's available on the Daily Wire streaming network. So there's some new reviews I got up right now. This week I'm going to work hard and get some more movies, more movie reviews on the website, and some more other content as well. Now I just want to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is Patreon. So there's a lot of you guys know, being a freelance film critic and also doing this stuff with Matt's movie reviews, that's essentially kind of like my bread and butter. So it really goes a long way if I can have people kind of support my work, whether it be through, buying affiliate links or joining me on Patreon. So, if you, excuse me, if you join up with our Patreon, you get access to exclusive content, and you can also request your own movie reviews and top 10 lists. You tell me what you want me to watch, review, and I'll do it for you through the Patreon network. I got a couple of patrons right now. I want to build up that community. I want to have a thriving community of movie loving fans. So it goes a long way if you can help me in regards to that. Currently, I'm doing a thing called 40 films in 40 days, which is something that I started doing every Lent maybe a couple of years ago. And this year I'm going to be watching 40 films and during the span of 40 days and sharing my reactions to those films, for the full length reactions of the films on the Patreon network. But the catch about the whole 40 films is it has to do with Lent. So as you know, I'm a practicing Catholic, and I love to review faith-based films. And so this is kind of like a moment for me to really share my watching a lot of faith-based movies that I haven't seen before, or maybe I haven't seen in a long time, and my reactions to them. And the reactions will be posted on Patreon, as well as other content as well. And as I said, join up with Patreon. You get to be in charge of what content you want to see. Tell me what movies you want to review, what top 10 lists you want to do, and I'll do it for you. Only through the Patreon network, though. Okay, let's go over to some movie news. Now, this has been really interesting. So, the awards season has pretty much, it's pretty much done. I think the only big ceremony we have left is the Oscars, which is done, I believe, on the 28th or 29th of March, so not that long to go. And so far, the front runner, I believe, for picture is The Power of the Dog, which is the I think they call it like a meta western that's on Netflix at the moment, and its director Jane Campion, I think, is a shoo-in for the best director nod. And there are many reasons why Power of the Dog, I believe, will win best actor and best picture. Essentially, I think a movie like Power of the Dog really represents what the Academy are looking for now, of what they deem to be worthy as a Best Picture. And keep in mind, just because a movie wins an Oscar for the Best Picture doesn't necessarily make it so. I go as far to say that there's been more more Best Pictures of the year that never won anything, let alone an Oscar. So that you take that with a grain of salt, if you will. Now, I've seen Power of the Dog. I liked it very much. But as I had my brother text me earlier this week. He hasn't seen it. He actually said the text saying, "Is the Power of the Dog any good?" And I said it's good, but I wouldn't call it Best Picture good. It's a great looking movie. The cast does great work, and Jane Campion does great work behind the scenes as well. But I don't even think it even cracked my top 20 of 2021, which, by the way, I still have to share. So I like the film. I just don't like it as much as I think a lot of people in the Academy and a lot of other critics do as well. One person who absolutely loathes the movie is actor Sam Elliott. So for those who don't know, Sam Elliott is essentially, I guess you could say, a character actor, but I think he's the best example of a prototype Western actor we've had over the last few generations. There was the generation of John Wayne and the generation of Clint Eastwood, and then the Westerns kind of went out of flavor. But whenever a Western has come around, Sam Elliott at times would be part of the cast, and he's often the best thing about the cast. He's currently taken part of a prequel series to the show Yellowstone. It's called 1883. I think it's like a limited series, so it would be like one season only. That's just showing on Paramount Plus. So while Sam Elliott has been out there doing press, he made some interesting comments in regards to the Power of the Dog. So he was on the Mark Maron podcast, and he was asked about that film, and this is essentially what he said. And apologies for the cursing here. Let's see. I looked at it when I was down there in Texas doing 1883, and what really brought it home to me the other day, there was a full-page ad in the LA Times. There was a review, not a review, but a clip, and it talked about the evisceration of the American myth. And I thought, what the fuck? What the fuck? This is the guy that's done Westerns forever. The evisceration of the American West, and make it look like, what are all those dancers that those guys in New York that wear bow ties and not much else? So remember them from back in the day. After Moran clarified that Elliott was referred to Chippendales dancers, Elliott continued to share his thoughts on the film. That's what all these fucking cowboys in that movie look like. They're all running around in chaps and no shirts. There's all these allusions to homosexuality throughout the movie. Okay, so he's talking about pretty much an essential plot in the film is that in spoilers in regards to the Power of the Dog moving forward now. But it's essential that I get to the crux of what Sam Elliott is talking about here. Essentially, what he's saying is that because one of the characters is a homosexual or a repressed homosexual, that's in the case of Benedict Cumberbatch's character, that it essentially what doesn't make it a Western or not good enough to be a Western, and he's kind of like his take on the movie. And then he also says later about Jane Campion, the director. She's a brilliant director, by the way. I love her work, her previous work. But what the hell does this woman from down there in New Zealand know about the American West? And why, in fact, does she shoot this movie in New Zealand and call it Montana and say this is the way it was? Now, again, I think Sam Elliott's going to talk him out of his ass here. I'm a big fan of the guy. I like his movies. I think the plain speaking kind of direction that he has is really refreshing, actually, compared to a lot of people who, especially during the award season or when they're promoted a product, tend to do kind of political speak and a lot of this stuff. But the stuff he says doesn't make sense. Number one, in regards to the whole point of the film having homosexual themes in it, why should any genre of film not have that? If it's beneficial to the character and it's beneficial to the story, I do believe that the Power of the Dog is based on a book. Probably double check that, but if it's beneficial to the story and it's beneficial to the character, and then what difference does it make it again if it's in a Western? Does a Western have to go by only a certain series of tropes and that's it? Usually for myself, actually find it refreshing when I watch a movie, a genre movie or associated with a genre, to kind of go steps outside of those tropes. Now and again, I like to watch a movie that like sticks to them. Like for example, my favorite Western of the past year of 2021 is this movie called Old Henry, stars Tim Blake Nelson. Fantastic movie. If it was up to me, that will be the Western that's up for the awards, but it isn't. I'm just lowly old film critic and YouTuber here in Sydney, Australia. That's a fantastic film. Anyone who hasn't seen Old Henry, by the way, I really recommend you check it out. But why should a movie that has illusions of homosexuality or have characters who are homosexual, why should that go out? Why should that affect the genre that it's in? Why should it not be allowed in any certain genres? I just don't buy that. I think it's just total bullshit. And then the other part I don't get either is, why is it that he's so upset that Jane Campion shot a Western outside of America? I guess that, Sam Elliott hasn't seen spaghetti westerns before. Spaghetti western meaning that directors like Sergio Leone directed some of the most classic, enduring, influential westerns of all time in Italy. And he pretended that was the old West. Those movie star Clint Eastwood, made him a superstar. Brought the Western back, alive, kicking and screaming after the whole kind of John Wayne era and such. It shouldn't make a difference where it's shot as well, as long as the setting itself and the landscape itself and the locations itself are used well by the production designer and the director and the cinematographer. Man, if it works for the movie, it works for the movie. It doesn't matter if it's shot there or not. That's what I think anyway. So this, like, it's really kind of a shame. And interestingly as well, Jane Campion actually did fire back. So as soon as this came out, this kind of like Sam Elliott's criticism to the film, which I think is just really just like, talking out of his ass. I really do. Of course, with Power of the Dog doing all the awards rounds and such, the cast, and the director are going to be asked about it. So Benedict Cumberbatch was really kind of like, look, I'm not gonna go into it, but only to say that it's kind of like befuddling criticism, which I believe so as well. Cody Smith-McPhee, Australian actor, terrific in the movie, by the way. I'm so glad to see him getting an Oscar nomination. I remember the first time I saw him in Romulus, My Father, I knew he was going to be a great actor then, and he's definitely proven to be so over the years. He's essentially like, I'm not going to give power to any of that negativity, which is good for him in regards to that too. And then you got Jane Campion. Now, Jane Campion, I think, is very much straightforward in regards to Sam Elliott's criticism. So she was on the Hollywood Reporter Scott Feinberg's Awards Chatter podcast, and she was asked about Sam Elliott's criticism, and her response was, it has to be said, I think he was being a bit of a bitch. That's how she spelled it out. Because, he's not a cowboy either. He's an actor. He grew up in Sacramento and was educated in Oregon. We're dealing in a fictional world. We're dealing in a mythic universe. The West is a myth. It doesn't exist. And there's a lot of room on that range to explore that myth. And this is just another version of it. And I actually do really stand by that response that she had. I do think that Sam Elliott is acting a bit whiny in regards to some type of purity that the Western should have. Now, I'm a fan of Westerns. There's certain things I want to see in a Western, but some of my favorite Westerns were the movies that kind of went against the grain. I still think the assassination of Jesse James, fantastic movie. Unforgiven, what Clint Eastwood did there, another fantastic one. I mean, what was the other one that I saw not that long ago? Oh, is drawing a blank. Anyway, but those are great films. And Power of the Dog, like I said, I don't believe it to be the best film of the past year by any means. And as I said, it isn't in our top 20 films, but it is a fine film. It's finely directed. It's great performances. It's great craft to it as well. Just because it's shot in New Zealand and just because the characters in it that are homosexual doesn't make it a bad Western. Might make it a different Western. It might make it a different cup of tea where people are Sam Elliott concerned, but doesn't make it a bad Western, just makes it a different Western. And just like Jane Campion said, there's open range to explore. I think any genre should be open for people to explore. And oftentimes you'll find the best movies in a genre are the ones that really kind of what's the word, innovative. I truly believe that. And it reminds me, this isn't the first time that Sam Elliott's been talked out of his ass. He was in The Golden Compass, which was the first adaptation of Philip Pullman's book. And it was made, I think Chris Weitz directed it, but it was like back in 2007. It had Daniel Craig, it had Nicole Kidman, had a bunch of people in it. But anyway, the film didn't do well at the box office and it didn't do well with the critics. And I think it was really simple. Number one, I don't think enough people kind of knew of the material. It wasn't the books themselves. I don't think were as popular as say what Lord of the Rings was and what Chronicles of Narnia were either. So not many people really got into it. And number two, I think the material itself went straight so far away from the source material, especially in some of its themes, that a lot of the fans of the book, and a lot of the critics who probably knew of the book didn't find the watering down of its themes to be that appealing. And so it didn't get good reviews. But Sam Elliott didn't blame it at all on the filmmakers or anything else. He blamed it on the Catholic Church because in The Golden Compass, for people who don't know, the bad guys in it are called the Magisterium. And Philip Pullman, the author of these Golden Compass books, he is a very open militant atheist, and he's made it very clear that the Magisterium in the books represent the church. So from that, Sam Elliott came to the conclusion that the Catholic Church stopped the movies from getting sequels. Had nothing to do with box office, had nothing to do with people didn't like the film. It had to do with the big boogeymen in the Vatican doing it. Now, I don't know about you, but if the Catholic Church had that much pull, I think they would have stopped other films instead of The Golden Compass. Do you think Benedetta would have been out in cinemas this year, or Spotlight, or any other films that are really kind of critical of church teaching and such? I don't think so. I don't think they're really caring about what's happening to The Golden Compass. The truth be told, even the church had any pull, they didn't have to do anything because number one, no one was watching the film. Number two, no one liked it. And by the way, the books were adapted into a TV series for HBO, proved to be very popular there because they were more to what was on the page. People really liked it. So it didn't stop from people from, adapting it again. And so in regards to Sam Elliott and his criticisms in regards to The Power of the Dog, there is history that he talks out of his ass when there's something doesn't go his way or something he doesn't like is out there. He tends to just go a little overboard on it. Not going to stop me from watching his movies. I think he's a fine actor for the way that he does his roles. I love watching his movies. I think he's got one of the coolest voices in Hollywood. He's kind of like an old school guy, and that's what I love about him. But you got to call out these things for what they are. And I think in the case of Sam Elliott's criticisms of The Power of the Dog, it's pure bullshit. All right, let's move on to the next thing. All right, so this is interesting news. Amazon buys the MGM catalog. When all of these kind of streaming services came out, it didn't take long for a lot of kind of like clashing because it was a very lucrative market. People love to stream. Netflix went out there first and they really showed how this thing can be done. And then it didn't take long for Amazon and HBO Max and who else is there, Disney Plus to, get their stuff together and put out their content. But it all comes down to content. It's all about what do you have that there's other streaming services don't have. So very quickly it came down to, these kind of like melding these amalgamations of different studios and such coming together and creating a library, streaming the libraries online for to buy for your hard-earned dollar. Netflix have a deal with Sony to show their movies. Disney, of course, bought out 20th Century Fox, and I think the biggest reason why they did that is because Disney Plus was coming out, and now they got all of that Fox content on their platform, and their and it's very kind of very a lucrative proposition for people. It's like even if you don't like the Disney stuff, but you can watch all the 20th Century Fox stuff, the classic movies and the TV shows, etc. Now, and of course, Warner Brothers, I'm pretty sure have got some type of deal with Universal. So a lot of that stuff is streaming through kind of like all the HBO, like HBO Max and such through Binge and what have you. But now you've got Amazon that buys the MGM catalog. So just check this out here. Amazon has closed its $8.5 billion acquisition of MGM, the company said Thursday. Here we go. The storied, nearly century-old studio of more than 4,000 film titles, 70,000 TV episodes, 180 Academy Awards, and 100 Emmys will complement Prime Video and Amazon Studios' work in delivering a diverse offering of entertainment choice to customers. It's a big library that they're going to have now. And I think this makes them really in competition with the likes of Disney Plus, because I think out of all of them, Disney Plus kind of has the most kind of the biggest library of that, having all that Fox and this content put together. So now MGM, I mean, the movies are part of the whole kind of like, yeah, look over here, big mergers, Disney, Fox, AT&T, Time Warner, Warner Media with Discovery. I mean, it's quite interesting how this is happening. And this is all happening in the last, 5 years? It's crazy. I mean, MGM Films catalog includes, you got the Rocky movies, the Poltergeist films, Raging Bull, 12 Angry Men, Silence of the Lambs, Stargate, Pink Panther, James Bond series, huge on the TV front. The studio has produced Fargo, The Handmaid's Tale, and Vikings. I actually do have an Amazon subscription. As soon as I saw this, I actually went on to the Amazon Prime. See if I could find it here. Amazon Prime. I went onto the Amazon Prime streaming site, and they already have kind of like a thing for MGM. But tricky thing is that where if you get a Disney Plus subscription, all of the content is part of the package. Amazon, in regards to MGM, and also Amazon have a deal with Paramount Plus, I'm pretty sure, is with Amazon as well. And there's a whole range of stuff that Amazon has. I think Shudder as well was in there on there. You actually have to buy that as an additional. If you want to get the MGM stuff, it costs additional money. So I think it's like another $5. So usually the streaming for Amazon's pretty cheap. It's like $5-6 a month. But if you want to watch an MGM content as well, that's an additional cost. So that might put people off. But it's really interesting to see how all of these kind of like streaming services are really just raising the bar one after the other to get your hard-earned dollar. I mean, who you gonna go with? I don't know. I think it really depends on the taste that you have, doesn't it? I myself am subscribed to Binge, which here in Australia is kind of like it has like HBO shows and the Warner stuff and all that, because I like all that content. And also with Disney Plus and with Amazon, not with Netflix. Netflix got too expensive, and I'm kind of getting bored with their content, to the truth. The way that they kind of make their movies and documentaries, just not really doing it for me anymore. So I've got a few streaming services there that I do watch, because I watch a lot of content, so I have to review a lot of stuff. So there we go. All right, I want to talk next about one of my affiliates, 80s Tees. I'm just going to bring up 80s Tees here. All right, so 80s Tees. All right. So 80s Tees is an online retailer of licensed T-shirts and pop culture gear from your favorite movies, TV shows, cartoons, video games, comic books, and musicians. Celebrate your inner 80s nerd and click on the link in the show notes below to get the raddest retro T-shirts delivered to your door. So as you can see, wherever you may be, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, what have you, I got like in my show notes or kind of like my affiliate links as well. And so right here, I have the 80s Tees website. So let me just go to my website, because I've got banners all over my website too for people to go to 80s Tees. So I'm going to click on the 80s Tees link right here. And we're going to just have a quick look around to see, what they have on offer at 80s Tees. Because as you can see, I got my 3 Amigas T-shirt on right now. I'm a big fan of 80s content. I'm a big fan of kind of like, pop culture gear and merchandise and such. So a website like this is really up my alley. So let's have a look here, what's available. So let's look at movies first. These movies, I need to get some new shirts. So let's see what they got here. Team. And I'll show you just how really easy it is to find stuff. So they've got a bunch of Top Gun stuff. Now, this is something that I had my eye on for a while. Hawk hauling. So this is from actually one of my guilty pleasure movies, Over the Top. I don't know if you guys ever seen it. It's a Sylvester Stallone movie from 1980. I'm gonna say 87. And it's an arm wrestling movie. He plays a trucker who's also an arm wrestler, but it's also a father-son movie. He has a kid. His estranged wife dies. The wife wants the son to live with the dad. The father-in-law doesn't want to have. Anyway, it's a whole bunch of stuff going on. But the great part about the movie are the arm wrestling scenes. And Hawk Hauling is the company that Sylvester Stallone's character works for. That's a trucking. So you know what? I'm going to add this to the cart. I might get a let's see, get a medium. Okay, I'm going to add that. Now let's see what else they got here in movies. That's a cool Rocky IV one, but I got a Rocky IV shirt. New Arrival products. 80 movie products, 80 cartoons. Oh, so many good stuff. I mean, you got to look at all these stuff. 80s movies. What else is there? 80s cartoons. Dude. WWE. What? Big fan of all this stuff. Let's just check out the 80s movie shirts first, though. See what we got. Queen Shark, Fishing Jaws t-shirt, Bonsai Tree. Here we go. Queen Shark, that's pretty cool. Mickey's Gyms. I got a bunch of Rocky shirts already. The Island, Karate Kids. Imagine, oh yeah, Hoosiers, like that. Out of Time, Back to the Future, Fast Times. Here's Warriors, that's cool. Back to the Future. So it's essentially, it really does cover kind of like the big, shirts, big cartoons and such of the times. Let's just check over at cartoons as well now. Thundercats, awesome. You wouldn't think that I'm turning 41 this year, would you? No, I know. Very immature on my part, but, you got to just still have fun. Just because you're old doesn't mean you have to act old. Let's see. Thundercats. Love Thundercats. I can't see anything here in the cartoon stuff that really appeals to me at the moment. Might be different for you, though. We're checking out. Oh, we got a Ghostbuster shirt. Let's see. How about the WWF start? Vintage WWF. Hopefully they got some WCW stuff. Oh, Razor Ramon. How about that? Scott Hall passing away. I don't know if anyone out there is a big wrestling fan, but I used to love watching the wrestling. I still do, actually. I watch more AEW than WWE, but I used to love watching WCW when Scott Hall was in it as part of the Outsiders with Kevin Nash. So say hello to that guy. That's awesome. Macho Man. That's pretty cool. Oh, yeah. I think I might put that on the side. Roddy. Undertaker. Oh, fave. Love Undertaker. Andre. It's a cool one there too. Really cool macho. Ric Flair. I love it. Sweet Chin Music. American Made. Always wanted to have a Rowdy Roddy Piper t-shirt with like Rowdy on it. But unfortunately, what's her name? Ronda Rousey's got taken over that. So, oops, didn't want to do that. So I'm definitely going to get this one too, this Hoosiers one. Add it to the cart. And the wrestling ones I'll save anyway. So I'm going to order these later. And when they come in, I'll do kind of unboxing, show you what they look like and all. But if you guys can check out 80s Tees, that goes a long way to helping me out. All right, so next up, we have our trailer reaction time. So tonight, I'm going to do, excuse me, get your nose. Let me just bring this over here. Let me get to my YouTube channel. So don't forget, Matt's movie reviews is also on YouTube. I host trailers there all the time. All right, here we go. So tonight I'm going to do a trailer reaction to a movie called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. So this is a new film that stars Nicolas Cage, and believe it has Pedro Pascal in it as well from The Mandalorian and what's the other show called that he was in, Narcos, etc. He's been in a bunch of movies as well. Essentially, in the movie, like I haven't seen any trailers for this yet, and this is a red band trailer as well, just to let you know. But essentially, in the movie, Nicolas Cage is playing like a version of himself, a very much a kind of like heightened version, which says something because Nicolas Cage, in his own right, is a very kind of heightened individual. Just going to blow this up here. All right. All right. So let me just say beforehand, the last couple of times I've done these trailer reactions, the video's been kind of glitchy. Might be the case again tonight, but I'm going to try my very best to make the best of it. And don't forget, with these trailer reactions, I do pause, I talk about it, some certain scenes and such. But this is the first time I've seen this trailer, this red band version, especially of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. So let's get into it together and check it out. Here we go. As I was saying. Can't get good internet anymore. Anyone out there with their own, frustrating things with NBN, let me know because I just think it's total shit. I really do. Thank you very much, Malcolm Turnbull, by the way. Come on, dude. Oh. All right, you know what? I'm gonna relaunch this because it's just being a real pain in the ass. So we're gonna try this again. Oh, really? Okay, Neil Patrick Harris. He's in it. He looks like he's definitely playing his agent. I always find it interesting when actors kind of play versions of themselves in movies. Does that also mean that like when an actor like Neil Patrick Harris shows up, is there a different version of him? Is there actually a Neil Patrick Harris in that world? Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, if all of a sudden someone showed up like Pedro Pascal is in the movie, is there actually a Pedro Pascal in that world, or is this like a different dimension where he doesn't exist? I don't know. Just brainstorming here. Here we go. Oh, good. Come on, dude. I think I need to start doing trailer reactions like in a separate time, so we're going to deal with these issues. My God. I might have to pull the plug on this if this continues to go. Well, that's interesting. Can you limit your favorite movies to one? I think you can. I definitely think you can like look at the all the movies that you watched, and if you have time and you're off that way, you can definitely put them together. I have my favorite movies, my top five, just top of my head that I know of: Godfather Part Two, The Godfather, Exorcist, Rocky, JFK. Those are my top five movies. I do have a top 150 movies list on my website. It needs updating severely though. I haven't updated it in like maybe like 10 years or so. But yeah, all right, let's move on. Oh Lord. Hmm. Start it one more time. If it doesn't work this time, we're going to have to do it some other time because it's just shocking. Might have to remove it from the live stream. I'm really sorry, guys. I want to really react to this, but just the internet is just not up for it. Because again, the NBN is shit. you know, it looks like an interesting take on fandom. Can you imagine someone obsessing you to such a degree that they have like a whole kind of like wing in their house dedicated to you? I mean, I imagine this is the kind of stuff that a lot of celebrities might have to deal with, right? Um, Typical in Nicolas Cage fashion, he wants to buy the really gaudy faced off statue. All right. I've seen Croods too. I got two kids, two boys, ages 9 and 6. The Croods movies are really funny. I love Croods too. I think it's fantastic. Nicolas Cage is a great voice actor in that movie. So fuck that guy. Croods 2 is awesome. And I also like Face Off and Con Air, the other ones, but Croods 2, fantastic. Let's keep going. Oh man, that's really funny. I mean, but it kind of reminds me. Wasn't there a So I feel like this idea's already been taken. Wasn't there a TV series or a movie where Jean Claude Van Damme plays a version of himself, but then he's like transformed into some type of secret agent of some kind? I'm pretty sure there is, right? I need to double check that, but if there is, let me know in the comments below. I'd be interested to know. That looks really good. It comes out in April, huh? I think I'm pretty sure it comes out in the same time here in Australia as well. I can't wait to watch that. That looks really funny. Um, Nicolas Cage is look, he's just a legend, right? And a lot of times his movies and his performances can be really hit and miss. But when he's on, when he's got a great role and he's dedicated to it, and he just works hard at it, and he's working with a great filmmaker, it's a great story and all that. It's really fantastic filmmaking, fantastic films. Movies like Adaptation and such. I mean, Leaving Las Vegas. I mean, come on, he just really is an excellent director. Pig, that came out last year. If has anyone seen that? That's a fantastic movie as well. So I'm really looking forward to watching this. I think this could be a real blast. I think maybe they gave away a little too much in the trailer, but those are trailers these days, right? That happens. But yeah, I'm definitely going to watch that. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Great title as well. Love it. All right. So next up, I just want to talk about Loot Crate. So Loot Crate partners with industry leaders in entertainment, gaming, sports, and pop culture to deliver monthly themed crates, produce interactive experiences and digital content, and film original video productions. No matter what you geek out about, Loot Crate has a subscription box for you. So Loot Crate is one of the affiliates that I'm working with on Matt's movie reviews. Oh, did I lose something here? Let me scroll across. And it's a really cool place where you can buy kind of collectibles and merchandise, but it come in kind of like a big kind of box deal. So we're going to go over to the website now. I'm just going to give you a bit of a glance at it. Here we go. Oh, that's awesome. What's this? Exclusive Frankenstein Monsters action figure featuring this month's crate. That's awesome. That's really cool. Surprise every month delivered to your door. So what's in the crate? Let's see. Browse crates. What we got here? So I think it's just like a mix of stuff, like shirts and all sorts of stuff as well. Let's see, film and TV crates. Let's check that. Wizarding the World, Marvel gear, Firefly, pop culture crates. Let's check that one out. Off. Featured in this crate. Get a surprise bundle of collectibles and gear from your favorite movies. So, see, $35.99 crate plus shipping. Loot Crate DX. Loot Fright. Oh yeah, horror movies one. I love me a good horror movie. This month, Loot Tees. Get exclusive Pop Code T-shirt for your favorite movies, TV shows, socks, Loot wearables. This is really cool. I really dig this stuff. Featured in this crate, we got Gremlin stuff, Killer Clowns Round Safe, Candyman, Dead. That's awesome. What about this one over here? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Get exclusive Pop Culture for your favorite every month. Crate plus shipping. That is great. That's pretty cool too. What other stuff I got there? It's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, I like that one. That's awesome. See that Back to the Future? Not Back to the Future. Big Trouble in Little China shirt. That's fantastic. I've always been trying to find one of that shirt as well. Past items. That's fantastic. So how's it work? Buy 1 crate, 3 crates in the next, select options. So if I put down 1 crate, what's next? Select a t-shirt size, medium, cards. All right. Right, so that's pretty easy. I'm going to finish that later. When that stuff comes in, I'll share it with you. Let me just get out of here. All right, so final thing here. What's coming up for Matt's movie reviews? So, whole bunch of stuff. Got a bunch of podcast interviews to go up. So I've recorded like 5 interviews this week, and I think I might have another couple next week as well. So I've got a bunch of interviews to go up for some new release movies that are coming out. I got a bunch of movies I will be checking out in the cinemas. So I've got reviews coming up as well. I'm gonna really get down into working into getting my top movies of 2021 up before the Oscars happen, because I really want to share that. I apologize for it taking so long. What else is there? I'm trying really hard to get more video content up. So there's always going to be something happening on the Matt's Movie Reviews website, and also on my socials, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it, I'm on there, with the exception of Twitter, because I despise Twitter. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of stuff happening. So look, I thank you all so very much for joining me tonight. Apologies for the disturbances in regards to the trailer reaction. We got there in the end, though. But I really appreciate you all joining me tonight. We'll be on again I'm thinking next Friday night. I'm tinkering with the time. I want to get my US viewers on this as well, so I might start doing stuff in the afternoon instead of night. Something I need to work on. But just keep an eye out, and you'll see announcements coming up. Oh, also, I totally forgot, 2 big competitions happening next week as well, coming up tomorrow. So I'll let you know now. It'll be for Sonic the Hedgehog Part 2 and The Bad Guys. So double passes up for grabs for both of those films to my Australian viewers, and they'll go up tomorrow. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time today, and I'll see you all next week.